All right, everybody, what is going on? Welcome to another edition of Swag Talk. This is the show where we cover the swag inside and out. Of course, I am your tour guide around the swag. C Wells coming at you. And we are in week 8. Gonna break down the games for week 8. Got 5 games on the schedule, 2 conference games, 3 non-conference games. It's homecoming week for pretty much everybody playing at home this week. Southern homecoming, Jackson State homecoming, Alcorn homecoming, Valley homecoming. The only team who is playing in the SWAC that's on the road is Prairie View. Well, not the only, but the only team not hosting a homecoming is Prairie View because they're playing away from home. So this is homecoming week, 4 homecoming games on the schedule, plus a Southland SWAC matchup. We're going to talk about all of it. As usual, you can check out the socials there on the screen down below. Facebook is Swag Talk, Instagram Swag Talk, Twitter Swag Talk 76. Make sure you hit those up. If you like to show a little love to the show, you can hit the Cash App. We got the little code on the screen, $ Swag Talk. If you haven't subscribed already, why don't you go ahead and subscribe? If you have subscribed, why don't you let somebody else know to subscribe, man? Let's keep these numbers going. Let's try to get to the 800 number, and then wherever we go from now. Like the videos, share them. Feel free to comment. Let me know your thoughts on week 8, and hit that notification bell because I'm going to be dropping a few videos in off my normal schedule time, so don't miss those. All right, like I said, this is week 8, full schedule. Well, not a full schedule, but a lot of games. Got 2 divisional matchups and 3 non-conference games. So we're gonna start with Southern and Virginia Lynchburg. That game is scheduled for 4 o'clock, and I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on this game because Virginia Lynchburg doesn't bring a lot to the table. I'm not trying to be too disrespectful. They don't, they're a team that's they aren't good. I'm trying to nicely say what they are. They're 0-6 on the season. They have played all their games on the road. Actually, they're 0-7. They played all their games on the road. The whole schedule will be on the road. So this is a team that they don't play at home. Just quick look at some of their scores. Virginia Union 77-0. Presbyterian 21-13. Delaware State 35-19. North Carolina Central 59-14. Morgan State 44-10. Savannah State 28-14. And this week they lost to South Carolina State by a score of 36-0. Not a lot to take away from any of these games statistically, man. They had a horrendous game against South Carolina State. They had minus 22 yards of total offense. So, just not a lot there for them. I don't really know, what to say. For Southern, obviously, the key for Southern is the guys who were suspended because of the fight against Prairie View. Southern will be short 11 guys. Most people believe that the suspension will be doled out for this game. So if that's the case, not knowing who is suspended, that kind of plays a factor. Not a big factor in this game. I don't think much is going to change, being down 11 guys. Virginia Lynchburg is their quarterback, who was a nice piece, a nice young freshman. He got hurt for the season a few weeks ago, so their offense is in a tailspin. Defensively, they're trying to make do, but like I said, if you're a Southern fan, it's homecoming. You're gonna have a lot to be excited for. I expect points. I don't expect that Florida Memorial type of score. I see Southern kind of doing what they got to do in the first half and getting out in the second half, and moving on and get back in the SWAC play next week. So, like I said, I think the score will be something like 56-7. Like I said, I don't think it's going to be a lot of things going on in this game to worry about. I just gave them a touchdown because I feel like you never know in these type of games. Sometimes those teams come out a little bit fired up, and they might catch you slipping early. So you always want to be prepared for games like that. Because you never know, they might hit you with a big play, you might turn the ball over something. So that's why I always like to throw a touchdown in my prediction for games like that, just because. So man, let's move on from that game to another homecoming game. Bethune Cookman is at Valley. This is a nice game. I mean, it's when both teams are struggling, but this is a game that both teams can win. This is a winnable game for both teams. They've been, the two teams have been kind of struggling, but in different ways. Valley offensively has not been good at all. They're averaging 8.6 points per game. Bethune Cookman is averaging 18.3 points per game. Defensively, Valley is allowing 32.4, and Bethune Cookman is averaging 41 points per game. That's 8th place and last place, respectively. Scoring offense, 10th place for Bethune Cookman, 12th place for Valley. So both of these teams are really struggling to put points on the board, and they're struggling to keep teams off the board. So this is going to be an interesting kind of matchup. Bethune Cookman is 6th in total offense at 342 yards per game, and they average 5.4 yards per play. Valley is last in total offense at 233 per game and 4 yards per play. Defensively, Valley is 11th in defense at 448 yards per game. They allow 6.4 yards per play. Bethune Cookman is last at 451, 6.5 yards per play. So you got two defenses that give up a lot. You got one offense that's actually not that bad, and one offense that's really, really having a tough time this year. So this is an interesting game. Bethune Cookman is 8th in the league in rushing at 131 yards per game. On average, 4.3 yards per carry. Valley, 129 yards per game, and they average 3.5 yards per carry. That's 8th and 9th, respectively. Bethune Cookman is 11th in the league in rushing defense at 227 yards per game. They allow 5.6 yards per carry. Valley is 4th in the league in rushing defense, so they do a really good job of stopping the run. They allow 133 yards per game and 3.9 yards per carry. So they are pretty salty defense when it comes to stopping the run, and having guys like Ronnie Thomas who can make plays in the backfield is always going to be a factor for an offense like that. I mean, a defense like that. Valley is last in the league in passing offense at 104 yards per game. Bethune Cookman is 4th in the league in passing offense at 210 yards per game. They have 5 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. Valley has 6 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Passing defense, Valley is last at 315 yards per game. They have allowed 19 touchdowns and they have 6 interceptions. Bethune Cookman is 9th in the league in passing defense. They allow 223 yards per game. They've allowed 14 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. Bethune Cookman has allowed opponents to sack their quarterbacks 21 times. That's 11th in the league. Valley is right behind them at 26. So both offensive lines have been struggling. I know Valley had a few guys that were out. I think they're getting a few guys back this week, so maybe that can help right the ship, or at least strengthen things. Valley is 8th in the league in sacks with 12, and Bethune Cookman is 11th in the league with 6. And like I said, the key guy in Valley's defense, and really on both sides of the ball with both defenses, is Ronnie Thomas. That's a guy that can be a huge factor in a game like this and can probably change the direction of a game like this. So definitely want to keep your eyes out on him. Valley is last in first downs, averaging 13 first downs a game. Bethune Cookman is 10th, averaging 16. Valley's opponents average 22 first downs, which is 10th in the league. Bethune Cookman is 12th in the league at 24.3 first downs per game. Third down conversions, Valley is last at 25.5%. Bethune Cookman is 10th at 29.3%. Again, these teams, they both find ways to shoot themselves in the foot. Bethune Cookman, especially because their offense has been able to move the football. If it's not turnovers, then it's unable to convert on third downs. Really is a killer. Bethune Cookman defensively is last in the league, allowing 48% completion rate. and Valley is 11th at 47.2. Valley actually is third in the league in fourth down conversions. They are at 58%. They have attempted 12 first downs, 12 fourth downs on the season, so they go for it quite often. Bethune-Cookman is at 45%. They have 11 11 fourth down attempts. So both teams are not scared to go for it on fourth down. Valley's opponents, they have a 41% completion rate. That's ninth in the league. Bethune-Cookman's opponents, 33%. That's sixth in the league. Kind of looking at some of the individual guys for Valley. Obviously, the running game is led by Caleb Johnson. Right now, he's at 473 yards. He averages 3.7 yards per carry. Jacoby Thomas, 260 yards. Jamari Jones, 115. They have 3 touchdowns as a team. Johnson with 2, Thomas with 1. In the passing game, Jamari Jones was banged up a bit last week. We'll see if he's 100% or at least close to that. He is the leading passer on the team right now. He's 51 of 89, 646 yards, 1 touchdown, 6 touchdowns and 1 interception. Excuse me. As much of a spark as this team can have, he's been a spark for this offense. He can hit the big play. And he can be a guy that can run the ball and help this offense move. TJ Goodwin has also got some action lately. He is 9 of 40 for 48 yards. So right now, not a lot to show for him. When they do go to the air, Ja'Cory Rankin is their guy. He has 14 catches for 218 yards and 3 touchdowns. He does have a 62-yarder. Kobe Bates has 7 catches for 126 yards and a touchdown. He has a longer 83. So they do have some explosive pass plays. Caleb Johnson has 9 catches for 107 yards. They don't really have a spectacular passing offense. So, that's something that they really are going to have to try to find. A game like this could help, but right now this is a crapshoot game, and I'm serious. Ronnie Thomas leads the team with 47 tackles. Lee has 43. Martin has 41. McGee 37. Thomas 13.5 tackles for loss. Victor 4.5. Lee 4. Bell 4. Thomas 7 sacks. Bell 3 interceptions. Lee has 4 interceptions on the season, so definitely a guy who can make some plays on the ball. And Alexander has 2 interceptions. Switching over to Bethune-Cookman, their running attack is led by Quayshawn Bird with 350 yards and 1 touchdown. He averages 6.1 yards per carry, so he definitely is a guy that can explode for a play easily. Jalen Jones is at 260 yards, and he has 2 touchdowns on the season and 4.4 yards per carry. Jones is 84 of 157. He has 5 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He's completed 54% of his passes, and he has 1,104 yards. The leading receiver is Kamari Everett. Right now, he has 18 catches for 221 yards. Marcus Riley, 16 catches, 192 yards. Dylan Lee, 14 catches, 175 yards. Those are the guys who they really want to get the ball to, and obviously Everett is a guy who needs to have the ball as much as possible. If you can get the ball to him, you definitely need to do that because a guy like that can definitely make some things happen on your team. Ratliff has 30 tackles. Blake with 29. Jones with 29. Lewis with 26 tackles for loss. McKenzie 3.5. Hampton 3. Loving 3. Sacks. Loving 2. Pearson 1.5. Jones 1. Jackson 1. Interceptions. Hill Robinson has 3 to lead the team, and he's definitely a guy who can make some. He can be an impact player in this game. You really just they have some explosive guys. Darnell Dees is definitely a guy who can probably bust a big return in the return game. In a game like this, you definitely want to have a guy who can change field position, because I think this game is gonna be I don't think it's gonna be pretty. I think it's gonna be kind of a slog fest. You know, it's homecoming, so Valley will be ready to go emotionally. Bethune-Cookman, you know, they've been up and down all season. Um, this is probably both teams' last chance to, for sure, have a victory. Um, I'm picking Valley, man. I think playing at home is definitely going to help them. But I think this is going to be a game that could go either way. Um, if Bethune-Cookman's offense doesn't turn the ball over, then I do like them a lot in that aspect. But I think Valley can make enough plays at home and pick up their first victory by a score of 22-20. I think this is going to be one of those weird, odd type games as far as score goes. So, I can see, a safety or something like that. But Bethune-Cookman did give up 3 safeties last week. So, hey, you just never know. But I think this is going to be one of those odd type of games. So you really want to kind of keep tabs on that. The next game we're going to talk about, and this is another game that's impacted by the suspensions from the brouhaha in Prairie View. The Panthers head to Beaumont to take on Lamar University. This game, and like I said, not knowing who is out for Prairie View, it really impacts my prediction. Because I don't know, if they're missing any starters or any key guys. So, I kind of had to be a little bit more conservative with my pick. Because Lamar is, the nice way to put it is they're not that good. I mean, they're 0-6 right now. So they're not playing well. Obviously, they're 0-3 in conference. They've struggled all season. Just quick look at on their schedule, because I know a lot of people haven't kept up with Lamar, and honestly, why would you? They've had a couple close losses. Actually, the majority of their losses have been close. They lost 28-14 to Abilene Christian. That's a common opponent with Prairie View. They lost 45-16 to SMU. They lost 21-14 to Northern Colorado. They lost to Northwestern State 35-27. They lost to Houston Christian 37-34, and then they just lost to UIW on Saturday by a score of 56-17. So, other than that, the UIW game and the SMU game, and I guess you could say Abilene Christian, because that was a double-figure margin. The other games have been by 7, 8 points or less. So they are in games, but they just can't win. And they really aren't scoring much. They scored 34, which is their high, and 27. And other than that, it's been 17, 16, 14, and 14. So the offense is just not that great. The defense is not bad, but I think they're being put in bad positions. They average 20.3 points per game. They allow 37. They run the ball for about 133 yards per game. They average 3.4 yards per carry. They allow 139 yards per game on the ground, 4.2 yards per carry. They also are passing the ball for 206 yards per game. They have 93 completions on 202 attempts. They have 7 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. The opponents average over 300 yards per game. They are 146 of 232 with 19 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. So they have been getting kind of torched through the air. Total offense, 339 yards, 4.7 yards per play. The opponents, 440 yards, 6.3 yards per play. Third down conversions, they're at 28% on third downs and 45% on fourth downs. They've fumbled the ball 7 times. So they've turned the ball over 13 times. That's quite a bit. That's about 2 turnovers a game. So you definitely can get some takeaways from them. The defense has 13 sacks. The opposing defense has 11 sacks, and they have 6 turnovers. 6 fumbles with the 5 interceptions makes 11. So they are actually in a negative turnover ratio, -2. But they do a decent job of turning you over. The opponents are at 25% on fourth down and 45% on third down. So you can see their problems, turnovers and lack of execution on third downs is always going to be a big issue. Um, the pass game is not that bad. The run game is okay, but they just they just struggle in tight situations. Kalen Griffin is their leading rusher. He has 189 yards, one touchdown, 4.3 yards per carry. Demaja Harris has 133 yards, 3.2 yards per carry, and RJ Carver has 124 yards, 5.8 yards per carry. They have four guys with over 100 yards, so they kind of have the carries almost evenly distributed. Those guys, they all have no less than 20 carries and no more than 46. So those carries are pretty evenly distributed, which means they're doing it by committee. The passing game, Michael Chandler is 32 of 76. 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 454 yards. He's also a running threat. He can carry the ball a bit for them. Receiving, the leading receiver is Savon Ray with 362 yards on 15 catches. He averages 24 yards per catch, and he has 1 touchdown. He does have a 75-yarder. Jalen Dummett is 20 catches for 237 yards and 2 touchdowns. Kendon Facilier, 4 catches for 112 yards, 28 yards per catch. So he's a guy who can kind of hit a bit. Seems like they, hit him for a couple of big plays here and now. Defensively, their leading tackler is Tyler Jackson with 48 tackles. Ramon Stevens, 27. Caleb Arnold, 26. Tackles for loss, Jackson with 5 and Arnold with 5. Sacks, Freeman with 3. Arnold 1.5. Interceptions. Scaife has 2 to lead the team. And just a quick look at the special teams. They're averaging about 41 yards per punt. They're 5 of 6 on field goals with a long of 42. They are they're pretty consistent with field goals. Return game. They do have Harris has a kickoff return for a touchdown. He's averaging 35 yards per return. So that's definitely somebody you want to keep your eyes out on if you're Prairie View. Looking at the Panthers, and like I said, a lot of this is based on not knowing who's playing and who's not. But this Prairie View offense is averaging 23 points per game. The defense is 4th in the league at 24.8 points per game allowed. Total offense, Prairie View is at 323 yards, which is 8th in the league. Defensively, they're 4th in defense at 335. The rushing offense, Prairie View is 3rd in the league. They average 196 yards per game and 4.6 yards per carry. Defensively, they allow 142 yards per game, which is 5th in the league, and they allow 3.8 yards per carry. The passing game, which is somewhere that Prairie View has really struggled this season, they're completing 52% of their passes, and they have 126 yards per game. They only have 3 touchdowns on the season. That's the least in the league. They have 3 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. The passing defense, they're 5th in the league at 193 yards per game, 9 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. Prairie View, they allow the least amount of sacks at 7, and they are 6th in the league in defensive sacks, sacks by their defense at 16. So their defensive line is definitely able to get pressure on the quarterback. They do a pretty good job at stopping the run too. So this is a very aggressive defense, and I think this could be a key factor in this game. Prairie View averages 17 first downs a game, which is 9th in the league. The opponents average 19.5, which is 5th in the league. Prairie View is 8th in the league in third downs at 32.1%, and the opponents are 39.7, which is 7th in the league. 4th down conversions, Prairie View is 4 of 6 for 66%. That ties for first place. They also allow 22% 4th down conversions by the opponents, which is 2nd place. Looking at some of their individual guys, they have basically a 3-headed monster at running back. Ahmad Antoine, 455 yards. He averages 5.4 yards per carry. He has 4 touchdowns. Trezon Connolly, 278 yards. He averages 5.1 yards per carry. He has 4 touchdowns. Jaden Stewart has 192 yards and 4.3 yards per carry and 3 touchdowns. They are, if they can run the ball, they are not going to hesitate to run the football. When they go to the air, it's a little bit more dicey. Connolly is 61 of 107. He has 3 touchdowns and 4 interceptions, 645 yards. He's completing 57% of his passes. The guy that they look for the most is Jalen Howard. He has 7 catches for 130 yards and 2 touchdowns. Ty Holden, 14 catches, 150 yards. And, you know, other than that, like I said, they don't have a lot of guys that catch balls because they haven't really thrown the ball a lot this season. Defensively, Travion Green leads the team with 30 tackles. Excuse me, he has 30 tackles. Keyshawn Johnson leads the team with 39. Tariq Mulmore, 34. Warren Schenkel and Stacy Brown have 31 tackles for loss. Jesse Evans leads the team with 7.5 tackles for loss. 6.5 for Johnson. And T-Roy James with 4.5. That's a big guy in the middle that can definitely be a factor in this game. Sacks, Johnson leads with 3. Evans and Jones have 2 interceptions. Smith has 2 to lead the team. You know, like I said, this game is hard to pick. Not so much the winner, because I was going to pick Prairie View either way, because I don't think Lamar is that good. But I think my prediction for score-wise is kind of conservative, because I don't know who's playing for Prairie View. They're going to be short 10 guys. So I don't know who's playing. I don't know, you know, if they're missing key guys or they're just missing, you know, bench guys or what. So I'm still picking Prairie View to win this game, but I'm going conservative. I'm going 24-17. I can see this game, you know, I can see Prairie View maybe if they can if they can get that running game going, really take control of this game. Now, if they are forced to throw, then this is going to be a tougher endeavor for them. But if they can run and throw when they want to, then I think they have a great chance in this game. The next game we have is Texas Southern at Alcorn. This is Alcorn's homecoming. Like I said, this is homecoming week. Everybody has homecoming, so Alcorn is at home for homecoming. They are scoring 23 points per game. That's 4th in the league. Texas Southern is 22 points per game. That's 7th in the league. Alcorn defensively is 5th in the league, allowing 25 points per game. Texas Southern is 7th in the league, allowing 29. Total offense, Alcorn is 3rd in the league at 367 yards per game. They average 5.6 yards per play. Texas Southern is 10th in the league in total offense at 306 yards per game. That's definitely a surprise. I thought this offense would be a whole lot more consistent and explosive this season, but you know, having a lot of young guys, maybe this is a 2nd-year slump. So they're not really producing that great on offense so far this season. Defensively, they've been a lot better. They're 7th in the league in total defense at 382 yards per game. They allow 5.6 yards per play. Alcorn is 6th at 371. They also allow 5.6 yards per game. Rushing offense, Alcorn is 2nd. They average 199 yards per game, and they average 4.8 yards per carry. Texas Southern is 7th in the league at 147 per game, and they average they average 3.6 yards per carry. Rushing defense, Alcorn is 6th in the league at allowing 147 yards per game. Opponents run for 3.8 yards per carry. Texas Southern is last in rushing defense at 241 per game, 5.3 yards per carry. That's a huge advantage for Alcorn because they're definitely going to want to run the ball with Howard and Duffy. And you can throw in Leatherwood in there too. He gets some good carries as well. So that running game, it can dictate this game big time. Passing offense, Alcorn is 8th at 167 yards per game. They have 5 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Texas Southern is 10th in passing offense at 159 yards per game. They have 6 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. Like I said, these numbers from Texas Southern are really surprising. You're looking at a team last season that was second in the league in most offensive categories, or at least third. They've taken a big step back, but the defense has played a lot better, which has really helped them this season. They're second in the league in passing offense at 140 yards per game. They have 9 touchdowns allowed and 10 interceptions. Alcorn is 10th in the league in passing defense at 224 yards per game. They have allowed 10 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. Texas Southern has allowed 14 sacks on the season, which is 6th in the league. And Alcorn has allowed 11 sacks, which is 3rd in the league. Alcorn's defense does a really, really good job of getting to the passer. They have 21 sacks on the season, which is second place. Texas Southern has 6 sacks right now, which is last. So they haven't really been doing a good job of getting the quarterback. But Alcorn, pass rush, and run game, I think, is what's going to carry them through this game. First downs, Alcorn averages 19 first downs per game. Texas Southern 17. That's 5th and 8th place. Alcorn's opponents, they average 19.5 first downs per game, which is 4th in the league. Texas Southern's opponents 20 first downs, which is 8th in the league. Third down conversions, Texas Southern is 6th at 33%. Alcorn is 4th at 36%. Texas Southern is 3rd in the league in third down defense at 31%. So I think that's one of the big things for this defense. They've been able to get those stops on third down because they're not really turning opponents over. And they're not really getting them behind the chains a whole lot, but they've been able to get those stops as they need them. Alcorn's opponents convert 40% on third down, which is 8th place. Fourth down conversions, Alcorn is 4th at 57%. Texas Southern is 11th at 30%. Texas Southern is 3rd in opponent fourth down conversion rate at 28%. Alcorn is 10th at 44%. Like I said, this Texas Southern offense, they need a breakout game. I don't know if this week can be that week, but they definitely haven't had that real breakout game. Ja'Cory Howard has 392 yards to lead the team. He has 4.8 yards per carry and 6 touchdowns. Ladarius Owens, 354 yards, 3.8 yards per carry, 4 touchdowns. Andrew Body, 329 yards, 3.7 yards per carry, and he has 5 touchdowns. So that's a 3-headed monster in the run game. So that's definitely been a good factor for them. Not as explosive as last season, but they have a long of 52 on the ground. So not a lot of huge runs, but those guys are all capable of getting you a first down when you need it. Andrew Body is 116 of 200 passing, 6 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 1,277 yards. Like I said, I would like to see those numbers continue to rise. That's probably one of the biggest reasons that they are not really playing that well offensively. The passing game is not, it's coming around, but it's still not there yet. Derek Morton has 33 catches to lead the team. He has 517 yards and 1 touchdown. He's definitely the guy that they look to. He averages 15 yards per catch. Other than that, Bennett has 19 catches for 169 yards and 2 touchdowns. Shane, 14 catches for 126 yards. Defensively, like I said, I think this defense has been the surprise to me. Williams leads the team with 62 tackles. Tariq Cooper, 46. D. Anderson, 42. Tackles for loss. Akins with 8.5. Spraggins with 4. Trent with 4. Sacks. Akins with 2. Martinez, 1.5. Interceptions. Isaiah Hamilton has 4. He's definitely a guy who can get the ball and score if he gets it in his hands. George has 3. And they have a solid special teams led by Rick Garcia. He does the punting and kicking. So they definitely have a weapon in that aspect. Alcorn, they're led by this run game, man. His run game is typical Alcorn run game to me. Jarvion Howard is a back that can, he can bust the big one, or he can, grind it out against you. He had 725 yards and 8 touchdowns. He averages 6.1 yards per carry. Nico Duffy, 251 yards, 4.6 yards per carry, 1 touchdown. Leatherwood, 165 yards. He averages 5 yards per carry, and he has a touchdown. Aaron Allen is the quarterback. He's 87 of 142 for 61%, 973 yards, 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. They don't really air it out that much. I mean, they've only attempted 142 passes, so 146 counting the backups. They don't really, go crazy in the air, like you may expect. But they still have guys who can make plays. Rodgers, 12 catches, 209 yards. CJ Bolar, 117 catches, 162 yards. Juan Anthony, 16 catches, 162 yards. Montario Hunt, 7 catches, 142 yards. So they do have those guys that can make the plays. But this team is a running team, and they definitely going to play that physical Alcorn football. And that's definitely a key in a game like this, to be able to control the clock and get the yardage, not just control the clock, but to get the yardage. Terrence Ellis leads the defense with 36 tackles. Trevor James, 32. Kinsler, 28 tackles for loss. Ellis, James, and Webb, they each have 5 tackles for loss. Alcorn does a really good job of getting stops behind the line of scrimmage. And like I said, they have 21 sacks. They get them from a bunch of different guys. Bailey and Ballard, they each have 3 sacks to lead the defense. So they, anybody is capable of rushing the passer on this defense. So that's going to help them a lot in a game like this. Interceptions, they have 4 guys with 1 interception apiece. So nobody really is standing out there. This, like I said, this is a game. I like Alcorn to bounce back. I mean, they coming off of a tough loss last week, so I think they'll bounce back in front of the homecoming crowd. But Texas Southern's gonna be game. They're gonna come out and they're gonna move the ball, and the defense is playing better. But I don't know if the rush defense can stand up to the Alcorn run game, and if TSU can protect Andrew Body under the weight of that Alcorn pass rush, then I think the Braves will win this game. I like the Braves by a score 28-21. I think it's going to be a close game because I think both teams know that there's a lot on the line in a game like this. So I think it's going to be one of those games where, it's kind of a dogfight. You're going to want to kind of, make your way through it and see what happens. But I'm going Braves in this one. Now, the game that's my game of the week and probably everybody's game of the week this week, easy choice. This is a game that a lot of people have been kind of talking about since the beginning of the season, or at least when the schedules were dropped. And that's JSU and Campbell. This is Jackson State's homecoming. So it's closing out our homecoming week. Campbell's a team a lot of people don't know about. They are a team who has perennially not been good. They picked up some good stats, some good coaching hires, and they've been recruiting well the last 2 seasons. So the team is kind of in transition. I'm reaching out to some people from Campbell to see if I can get somebody on Swag Smoke to talk about the team a lot better than I can, because I just have a basic knowledge of what they're doing. Right now they're 4-2 and 2-0 in the Big South Conference. Their losses are to Eastern Carolina, which is an FBS loss, and a 37-21 loss to William and Mary, who's ranked number 20 right now in the nation. They beat the Citadel 29-10. They beat North Carolina Central 48-10. They beat Charleston Southern the week before last, 34-28. And they beat Robert Morris this past weekend 41-10. So their scores are kind of all over the place. But they seem to be a team that if they can get ahead of you, they're definitely gonna control the game. They're averaging 30 points per game, and they were allowing 25.3 points per game. The rushing offense is at 190 yards per game. They average 4.4 yards per carry. The run defense allows about 160 yards and 4.3 yards per carry. Passing wise, 245 yards per game through the air. They have 9 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. So they do have a little problem with turnovers there. Defensively, the opponents 198 yards per game through the air, 10 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Total offense 435 yards for the Camels, 5.8 yards per play. The opponents also 5.8 yards per play and 356 yards per game. Third downs, Campbell is at 40%, and they're at 55% on fourth downs. They've attempted 18 fourth downs, so they definitely will go for it. Like I said, that's like three fourth down attempts per game, so they're not afraid to go for it on fourth down. They've only lost 1 fumble on the season, so they have turned the ball over 7 times. The opponents have converted 32% on third downs and 50% on fourth downs, and they've lost 2 fumbles, giving them 10 turnovers. So they have a +3 turnover ratio, which is good for them. 12 sacks for their defense and 15 for the opponents. Individually, the leading rusher on the season right now is Brian Barr. He has 382 yards on the season. He averages 5.5 yards per carry even and 2 touchdowns. Hajj Malik Williams, who is the quarterback, he has 244 yards rushing, 3.9 yards per carry, and 4 touchdowns. Nakari Rogers, 215 yards, 4.4 yards per carry, and 4 touchdowns. Deontay Jackson has 60 yards on the season right now. But you see they have, 4 guys who can carry the ball. Having a quarterback that's a dual threat is definitely something that, can cause some problems for your defense. Williams is completing 63% of his passes right now. He has 8 touchdowns and 5 interceptions, 1,395 yards, 117 of 183. He has a long pass of 61. They don't have a ton of long plays right now. Other than that 61 yarder, they have a 51 yarder, a 41 yarder, and 2 30+ yard plays. So not a lot of explosive plays. The run game doesn't even have a lot of explosive plays on the ground. Their longest run on the season is 35 yards. They seem to be a team that kind of just make their way down the field with the ball. They're not really exploding all over the place for big plays. Julian Hill has 23 catches for 358 yards, 15.5 yards per catch, and 2 touchdowns. Isaiah Anderson, 19 catches, 286 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Austin Height, 15 catches, 196 yards, 1 touchdown. Jalen Kelsey, 11 catches, 170 yards, and a touchdown. Shaney Fitzgerald, 138 yards on 11 catches and 2 touchdowns. And Jay Williams, 12 catches for 120 yards and no touchdowns. So you have 5-6 guys with double-digit catches. They spread the ball around. So their offense seems to be by committee all over the place. So they can make, I think if they can control the ball in this game, that gives them a good shot. It's going to be interesting to see how they match up with the JSU defense. Defensively, Campbell is led by CJ Tillman with 40 tackles. Gabe Holmes has 33, and Aaron Maddox has 30 tackles for loss. Josh Johnson and Brevin Allen, they each have 7.5 tackles for loss. Sacks, Allen leads the team with 4.5 sacks. And then they have Johnson and Holmes with 1.5 apiece. Interceptions, all of their interceptions are by different guys. Looking at their special teams, they average 41 yards per punt. They punted a total of 22 times this season. They are 10 of 12 on field goals, so they've kicked a lot of field goals this year already, about an average of 2 per game. They have a longer 42. They're 2 for 2 from 40 plus, so that's definitely something to kind of keep an eye out on. The return game, nobody really stands out in the return game. Josh McNeely seems to be that guy on kickoff and punt return. So he averages 20 yards per kickoff return and about 7.6 yards on punt return. So nothing really huge. Their longest kickoff return on the season, 39 yards, and their longest punt return is 28 yards. Looking at JSU, obviously they are the best team in the SWAC right now. The offense is definitely capable of putting up a ton of points. They lead the league in scoring offense at 44 points per game. They lead the league in scoring defense at 9.5 points per game. Their defense is very stingy. They lead the league in total offense at 509 yards per game, 6.6 yards per play. The defense 180 yards per game, 3.2 yards per play. Rushing offense, they're fifth in the league at 165 yards. They average 5 yards per carry, which is actually the second most yards per carry for any team running the ball. They run defense allows 66 yards per game and 2.3 yards per carry. They've only allowed 2 rushing touchdowns. So that's a nice little, Campbell wants to run the football and JSU stops the run. So that's definitely a matchup that we want to take a look at in this game. Passing offense, 343 yards for JSU, 23 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. The defense also first in passing, 114 yards per game, 4 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. Defensively, JSU has 25 sacks to lead the SWAC. The O-line has improved a lot this year. They only allow 9 sacks on the season, which is second in the league. So they've been protecting better, and Shedeur does a good job of getting rid of the football quickly. So you're not going to get a lot of sacks. They lead the league in first downs at 27. They also lead the league in first downs allowed at 11. Third down conversion, JSU is at 46%. That's second place. Their first place in third down defense at 21%. Fourth downs, JSU is ninth in the league at 33%. And they are fourth in the league in fourth down defense at 33%. Looking at some of the individual guys, Savion Wilkerson, 461 yards rushing. 5.5 yards per carry, 3 touchdowns. Santee Marshall, 273 yards, 7.4 yards per carry, and a touchdown. J.D. Martin, 100 yards rushing, 4.2 yards per carry, and 1 touchdown. And Shedeur Sanders, 95 yards, 2.5 yards per carry, and 2 touchdowns. Like I said, Shedeur Sanders, one of the top quarterbacks in the country. 187 yards, 187 completions, 256 attempts, 22 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 1,998 yards, completing 73% of his passes. So he's gonna complete obviously more passes than he doesn't. So that's definitely something that can help them move the football. One of JSU's problems, if you even want to call it a problem, is sometimes they kind of go through lulls. Like they may not start the game strong, or they may kind of lull out a little bit in the middle, but they're capable of turning it on. And like I said, their defense is such an eraser. For any mistakes your offense makes, it's like a huge crutch that helps you a lot. It's like they cannot move the football, but the defense will get them the ball back, and it'll continue like that until the offense get rolling. So it's going to be interesting to see how they match up with this team from Campbell. Right now, Dallas Daniels leads the team with 448 yards on 38 catches and 6 touchdowns. Shane Hooks has 5 touchdowns on 34 catches, 347 yards. Willie Gaines, 14 catches, 299 yards and 4 touchdowns. Kevin Coleman, 12 catches, 174 yards and a touchdown. DJ Stevens, 22 catches, 173 yards. Wilkerson, 11 catches, 122 yards. Martin, 12 catches, 105 yards. Buckley, 11 catches. They spread the ball. I mean, even with the huge numbers they have, they still spread the ball around, even though they have 2 guys with over 30 catches. They still have a bunch of other guys with double-digit catches. and over 100 yards. So they spread the ball around. Anybody can hurt you. Anybody's a big play guy in their offense. Sometimes it's just a matter of who's up next. Special teams. Um, Johnson is the punter. He is averaging 38 yards per punt. The return game, Isaiah Bolden is definitely a guy who can, bust a big kickoff return. He hasn't done it yet this year. Well, he has a 55-yarder, but he hasn't scored yet. But he's a guy that can definitely, bust a big play at any time. So that's a weapon that you really want. The punt return game right now, Coleman is the guy who Coleman and Gaines are their main punt returners. They both have a longer 22, and they're capable guys, capable of getting loose. So the return games in punt return and kick returns are definitely weapons. Defensively, they're led by Cameron Silman Craig with 28 tackles, Aubrey Miller 26, John Huggins 25, Niles Gaddy 24, Jarente Davis 22. Gaddy leads the team with 9 tackles for loss. Reagan 5.5. Davis 4.5. Sacks. Gaddy 5.5. Reagan 3. Huggins 2.5. Brown 2.5. I think this season, this defense gets it done by numbers. They again, just like that passing game, they have so many guys on this defense who can disrupt the play, who can get a sack, who can get a tackle for loss. They are deep all over, and they have they have 6 interceptions and 6 guys have 1 apiece. So they just are able to do things with depth and numbers that most teams can't do, and that's definitely something that's gonna always help them and always keep them ahead in games. This game to me, like I said, is a very interesting game. I've been kind of hesitant to even pick this game because I don't know exactly what to expect from either team. So not so much that I don't know what JSU was about. Campbell is an unknown to me. I mean, I've watched a little bit of a few of their games, and I've read a little bit about them, but I don't really know. I don't really know the ins and outs of this team and what their mentality is. I just know what I see right now. So with that being said, I'm going with JSU because I think they are the better team. I think Campbell is a team that in a couple of years they'll be, a really, really good team because they're recruiting their ass off. But right now, I think they still are not quite there. They're turning the corner, but you got to remember that this is a team that, just a little while ago, was like 3-8. So they are learning, a lot, and they're growing fast. So, I think this is going to be a huge task for them. This will be most likely the biggest crowd they play in front of all season because I don't think when they played at East Carolina that they played in front of a huge crowd. I just want to check the attendance on that game just out of curiosity. That would be the biggest game that they would have played in terms of crowd size. So let me take a look at that. I just that's an intangible, but it doesn't really change a lot. But it's something that you kind of always are curious about when teams are coming in the elements they're not truly familiar with. This game had 43,000 in attendance, so that's a nice sized crowd. This is a homecoming crowd in Jackson, so it's gonna be pretty much close to packed. So that's 60,000, 55, 60,000 people. That's that's the biggest crowd that Campbell is gonna play in front of this season. So this is something that they've probably been waiting for. I think they've been hearing JSU. Like the JSU people like say Jackson State this, Jackson State that. They probably been hearing that already. They want to come in and make a point, but right now I like Jackson State, man. I just think that from what I know and what I've seen between the two teams, I think JSU is the team to beat in this game because I think what Campbell does well on offense, JSU can stop. Now if JSU allows them to move the ball on the ground, this could be an interesting game. But I think Campbell's gonna score a bit, and this game will be pretty close for a while. I think maybe it'll be close going in the fourth quarter. I like JSU, but I scored 31-21. Now, if this, if Campbell struggles, this can become one of those JSU, blowout type of games if they don't play well. And like I said, it's such an unknown for them, to really gauge any way. So that's gonna do it for our show today. I'd like to thank y'all for tuning in again. We got Swag Smoke coming live on Thursday, and our Week 8 recap will be coming on Sunday. So y'all don't miss that out. And man, it's homecoming week. Get excited, man. Like I say, man, I love homecoming. I'm excited. Hope you guys, if you're able to go to a homecoming in this week or next week or whatever, man, please enjoy yourself and be safe. And we'll catch y'all on the rebound. Peace.